So I went to PAX East. Hello world and all who inhabit it, it is I, the Great Saiyaran, and this past weekend I went to PAX East for the very first time. There were amazing games, gamers, and cosplays everywhere, and it felt like a very safe space for gaming culture. I really enjoyed myself. While I was there, I got to try and learn about 3 games that got me super hyped for them, and I want to tell you all about them. But first, what is PAX? PAX is a gaming expo held in Boston. The city is pretty meh, but maybe that's my southern bias. I traveled all the way from Birmingham, Alabama to Boston by myself after winning tickets from Philly Beats You, a popular Pokemon content creator who I thank profusely for giving me the opportunity to experience this weekend. I had a few goals in mind, like meeting Bob Wolf, and I actually did and got my Joy-Con signed. I couldn't find beat 'em ups for the other Joy-Con and didn't want to ask Bob because fanboys are bad people. There were really cool vendors selling retro stuff, chairs, D&D dice, the works. I had an amazing time, and it's hard to narrow down what I love the most, but if I had to, I'd say it was the people I met, like the one guy who was dressed as the Great Saiyaman, or Scatterbrain, who creates amazing emulation and hardware review content. We finally met IRL and he's a great guy. PAX was an amazing opportunity to network and meet new people, but you don't care about them, you care about the games. There were 3 games that stood out to me for different reasons. I played and watched people play a lot of games this past weekend, from recent classics to unreleased and hopefully never releasing games. Seriously, that Gollum game looked and played horrible. I was even able to try PSVR 2, which is very rare since they're not set up at a Best Buy for you to demo, and $600 is a crazy amount to spend just to see if you like VR. But we'll get to the headset and that game later. The first game that jumped out at me was Anton Blast. This was an indie game made by Summit Sphere. They didn't even have an Anton Blast sign or anything, but because I have been following this game, I stopped and said, "Hey, is this Anton Blast?" And then the dev was like, "Wait, you know my game?" To me, it's like, of course, I follow indie games and this game has looked awesome since forever. But that dev through his mask was smiling ear to ear, and it was because he was excited that he had a fan. It really touched me because as a growing creator, I know that feeling of making something and people in the comments loving it, and it feels amazing. I had a long conversation with him about how cool their Twitter was and how much I had been wanting to demo the game. They had a demo specifically for PAX that I played, and wow, this game really does feel like a modern classic. I love games with fun and snappy controls. This game is a 2D action platformer similar to something like Wario World, only everything is destructible. You can also go to and from the foreground to the background at certain points on the level, either to solve puzzles to progress or make the level easier for you. There's like this hammer spin attack you can use to bounce up higher than you can jump, and it's crazy and just super fun. That dev followed me on Twitter, so close to the launch, which we don't have an exact day for, I'm gonna be all in his ear about this game. I wish I would have gotten more footage of the demo, but not everyone was okay with me recording, so I was trying to be respectful. I was just happy to play, honestly. So yeah, support indie devs because they're actual people who are actual fans of gaming who are just able and willing to make the games that they love. The next game that impressed me, I actually didn't get to play. They're also an indie dev team, and it was really cool to meet them at their panel that they held for their game, the Maid Seeker. If you're a fan of League of Legends, then you may already know about this one. It's a beautiful pixel art style action RPG that follows the story of the champion Sylas, a mage who can steal spells and also beat the crap out of anyone. It's really cool to see Riot Forest go this route by 1, choosing an indie team to make a game for their huge IP, and 2, stepping outside the MOBA scene and giving them creative range to make an action RPG, a different genre from what League of Legends actually is. When this game was initially announced, I was very much in love with what was shown, so I made it a priority to sit in on the panel to learn more about this game. Bro, they showed us all the behind the scene dev stories and progression into the final game. The pixel art is all hand drawn, and so is every single frame. They said it was over 89,000 hand drawn pixel art frames for this game. What? From the land of Demacia to your home base where you build up your rebellion, it's all hand drawn. It's been in development since 2019, and that's probably why. Besides the aesthetics of the game, they also talked about the combat. Once again, action RPG, but also very much League. I haven't put thousands of hours into League like some of my friends, but I do understand the game and what they were tasked with. MOBAs have cooldowns, ultimates, and combos just like an action game would, but it's not easy to translate all that. Since that dev team had played League, they could take the combos used in game by the MOBA players and translate that into boss fights and action sequences, not only with Sylas, but with the other 5 champions featured in the game. I was blown away away by the development process, and it's actually gotten me more hyped for April 18th when this game drops. They mentioned it having a deep story, and as someone who loved Arcane, I'm always down for a good League of Legends story. There's a comic that follows the Champions Luck's perspective about these events, but the Maid Seeker is going to follow Silas's view of what happened after that. It's a beautiful project with deep story and awesome combat, all made by a very passionate dev team. I'm more than down. PSVR 2 is expensive. You're probably not spending $600 to try it. That's a steep entry price, but it's not like they're floating off in the wild at big box stores for you to try, and even if there were, it's pretty gross to share a headset with the general public. Well, luckily at PAX, there was a PSVR 2 headset I could try with a game I can't stop thinking about. Demeo. Demeo is on Steam, the Meta headsets, and PSVR 2, so it's not necessarily new or exclusive, but the experience to me was new. I had never tried VR before despite being very interested. I wanted a Meta Quest 2, but they upped the price right before I was going to grab it without adding any new features or tech, so it seemed silly to buy one at the new price. Well, after trying VR, I'm really into it. I wear glasses, clearly, and tried VR without them initially. I'm nearsighted, so I can see things pretty clearly up to about 3 to 5 feet away. I assumed I could see a dumb headset dangling right in front of my face, but my eyes never adjusted to it, so I had to wear the headset with my glasses on, which wasn't that bad actually. I thought it smushed my glasses into my face too much, especially since my frames are big and stylish compared to a normal pair. The PSVR 2 has a lot of room. It felt fine on my face, and the headset didn't feel as heavy as it looked. I only played for about 20 minutes, so I have no idea what 3 hours of gameplay would feel like, but I was impressed. I did have this issue where the PSVR 2 couldn't find my right pupil. I assume because whenever I pulled up the menu, it created a glare on my glasses or something. Well, it caused the headset to focus and unfocus and focus on that one eye, and if it kept doing that, I was definitely gonna get nauseous. Besides that, the haptics were cool, the display was sharp, and the game was fun. Let's talk about that game. Demeo is a tabletop VR game that also has a non-VR version on Steam and PlayStation if you can't do VR. The guys there were so nice and friendly and were really patient as they walked me and my friends through the game. You can choose up to 4 characters and then start a dungeon with them, all with specific classes that do specific things. You also have these cards that give you special combat abilities, heals, or other abilities specific to your class, and basically you just do a dungeon, beat the enemies, collect the loot, and get to the end. I don't know if there's a story or not. I was kind of engrossed in the VR aspect of it all and making sure I wasn't getting nauseous or anything. The game is super fun, and VR really pulled me in. I was rolling dice and slaying goblins like a pro. That game, all its versions plus the demo are out now, so be sure to go and support those guys and their amazing game. Shout out to them for being the only booth at PAX with a PSVR 2 setup. There were 1 or 2 other VR booths, but they were all Meta headsets. So yeah, that was PAX. Can't believe how much fun I had, how much I learned, and how many people I met. It was overall a great time, and I can't wait to go to more cons in the future. Be sure to check out some of my other videos, like my review of Bayonetta Origins, an extremely underrated game. And also be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.